Hey, what's going on, comic fans? It's Mr. Q Comics back with another haul video. This is my return to the Comic Hunt haul here. Most of my retail businesses, local shops, open up as of June 1st. So two of my three shops I frequent are reopened, on a limited basis. So I was able to hit up one of them. This haul is from just that shop. I went in for just a couple of books I knew they had gotten in, but they had just put out fresh dollar bins. I think I was on a business trip, so I didn't get in for a couple of days. But when I got there, they let me know they had fresh dollar bins. So I was able to do some digging. So definitely got some great stuff. I got a solid two-thirds full short box here. Some really good books. So before we dive into it, please, if you're new to the channel, go down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you were into checking out comic haul videos. So with that said, let's jump into it. So again, pretty much everything here was in the dollar bins. I just got it in alphabetical order. There's a lot, so I will try and breeze through it here. First one is definitely one of the ones I am the most happy to find. Airboy #5, which is just a phenomenal Dave Stevens cover. I think this is from 1986. If you've checked out any of my recent dollar bin hauls from the shop in the past couple months, I've pulled a single Dave Stevens cover out. Each time I go, I find one Dave Stevens book, and it's always been a different cover. I've just been the past year on a Dave Stevens kick, just grabbing Dave Stevens covers when I find them. Again, on the cheap. I like finding them in the dollar bins or, for $2, and I just love hunting for them. Just phenomenal. Look at that. Just awesome. Good girl pinup style art. Love that stuff. Yeah, and that's in really good shape, right? Near mint condition. Definitely happy with that. All right. I just showed this off, I think. I got one the last time I was there. Avengers 200 from 1980, which is a cool George Perez cover. First Marcus Immortus. I got a copy of Avengers 227, which is from 1983. I don't recall who did the cover on this, but this is Captain Marvel. Monica Rambeau joins the team, so I grabbed this when I find it on the cheap. I think it's a good minor key to grab. You don't know what's going to happen with characters like Monica Rambeau moving forward, so for me, for $1, worthwhile to pick it up when I find it in good shape. Okay, this one I see show up, get hot every so often. It's gotten hot in the past and cooled off, and I think again, it's worthwhile picking up if you can find it for $1. I got 2 copies, West Coast Avengers number 45. This is the first white-bodied Vision, and I believe it's rumored that he will show up in the WandaVision series, which I can definitely see happening. So for $1, both in great shape. One's probably near mint, one's a little closer to VF near mint. Right after that, issue 46 is the first team appearance of the Great Lakes Avengers. Not a team I'm particularly into, but again, I find it for $1. I grab it. More Avengers stuff. We got West Coast Avengers #1, a newsstand edition from 1980. 19. Is it 89? I don't know. 1984. Yeah, first team appearance in Origin. So this is the 4-part miniseries. I think shortly after, in like 85, something like that. They came out with an ongoing series. So again, just another cool minor key book. This one was just an 80s nostalgia buy for me, and I see it just showed up on Comic Tom 101 and the Key Collectors top 10 list. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the DC Comics adaptation from '89. Again, I just grab this anytime I see stuff tied into my childhood that I have fond memories of. In comic form, I pick it up. This is probably in the VF range. It's got a lot of spine ticks. You can see it's, nearly all black cover. So definitely happy to find that. All right, now we got a nice stack of Captain America books. Speaking of speculation, a lot of stuff tied in with Captain America to the Falcon Winter Soldier show. It's coming out on Disney Plus. Not sure when that's coming out. Starting with number 323, this is the first appearance of John Walker as Super Patriot, who later becomes the U.S. agent. This is from 1986. Near mint condition, and of course this is a Mike Zeck cover. If any of you have watched my videos before, I show off a lot of Mike Zeck. He's one of the artists from the 80s that I love picking up his stuff, and he has a nice run on Captain America here. I'm not sure how long, but it's a pretty sizable run where he did a lot of great covers. 328 Also, Zek, newsstand copy. This is the first appearance and origin of Demolition Man, who obviously is a combination of Daredevil and Wolverine there. We've got 332, which I think is Steve Rogers resigns as Captain America. 333. This has got that 1987 Year of the Reader mark on it. I see that on a few books from the time period. I don't know if those are more rare or not. They don't seem to sell for more, but I see it occasionally on books. So if anyone knows anything about that, let me know in the comments. I'm curious about it because I've got a couple other books like that. But 333, anyways, this is, I think John Walker takes up the mantle as the fourth Captain America. 334 is, again, I love this cover. I love, so this is John Walker, and Lamar Hoskins shows up as Bucky. So he becomes John Walker's Captain America's version of Bucky. But I love the all-white background on this cover. So that's one I did not have, so that'll stay in the collection with my Zek Captain America run. A lot of these I have multiple times over. I always seem to find them and pick them up. 337 is, this is the first appearance of the Captain and what will end up becoming the U.S. Agent costume. I get confused with all the keys in this series because there's, the Captain, there's U.S. Agent, the costumes changing back and forth, so it is easy to lose track of it all. All right, just a few more on Captain America. We've got 341. This one I know got hot for a while. I think it's cooled off a little bit, but this is the first Lamar Hoskins as Battlestar. Again, rumored to be in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. And then this one, same thing. This one got hot a while back. And it's the first time I found this for $1, a nice newsstand copy. It's 354 is the first appearance of John Walker as the U.S. agent, who I guess is confirmed to be a villain in the Falcon Winter Soldier show. So that one's probably VF range. So not the best condition, but again, for $1. Definitely happy to pick those up. Whoops. All right. A little more Captain America stuff here. This was just to complete the run, this story arc. I get Captain America 359, so I think this is the first cameo of Crossbones. And then 361. This is all just part of the Bloodstone Hunt story arc. I was missing that. And then 362, I believe, is the second full appearance of Crossbones in the first cover. I think that's what it was. So, all right, that rounds it up for the Captain America stuff. I grabbed a copy of Eternals, number 11 from the 80s, 12-issue series from 86. Not a key issue, but I grabbed these again. I've been trying to piece together some of these, some of this limited series from Marvel in the 80s. So only when I find them for $1. These I always grab as well. Fantasy Masterpieces number 1. Obviously a reprint of the Silver Surfer number 1. Is it John Buscema cover? So for $1, definitely worth grabbing. Because God knows that Silver Surfer number 1 is crazy expensive. I've got a copy of it, but mine is super low grade. This is just for reading fun. I love grabbing these reprints here. This is the Hunt of Fear number 1 from Gladstone Comics. I believe this came out in 1992. It's a reprint of the Hunt of Fear number 17 cover. I don't know what issues are in these books. There's a ton of these reprints of the EC books. If you want to read those books, definitely great. You can find these in dollar bins all the time. I see people selling them for a lot more, but I find these routinely in dollar bins. Not just the Gladstone ones, but there's a lot of versions of the reprints. You've got Treasury size edition ones. I like to read the originals if I can get them, but it's just so tough to find them in solid enough shape that you can actually read the original. I know some people probably, a big gasp when I say I like to read the original, but I definitely do. Unless they're like brittle and they're flaking away, then I don't thumb through them if I'm going to damage them. But definitely psyched to grab that. That's one of the Haunt of Fear books. I've always wanted that cover, but it's definitely pricey. So Hulk 250. I just thought this was a great Hulk Silver Surfer cover here. This is nothing special about it. I don't think it's mid-grade range. Al Milgrom on the cover, Sal Buscema on the interiors. It's another hot book recently, Justice League number 1. So DC spec, which doesn't ever seem to get quite as hot as Marvel spec, but this is in near mint condition from 1987. First appearance of Maxwell Lord, who is confirmed to be in the Wonder Woman 84 movie, which I believe is actually coming out this summer still. Excuse me. So I'm surprised that that book isn't actually hotter. But again, all the spec always seems to really ramp up as it relates to Marvel. You know, I think anyway, so it seems to me. Another copy of this, I show this off all the time. Justice League America 31. I believe this is the first, I don't see it recorded on Key Collector or anything, but I always see it marked as the first Adam Hughes artwork for DC. So it's a great cover, female Dr. Fate from 89. So I pick it up every time I find it in the dollar bins. Okay, we got some New Mutants books here. Number 26. This one I thought was in really high grade, but it's got a small tear on the back. I lost my place on my notes here. Yeah, I think it's the first full appearance of Legion. Bill Sienkiewicz cover and art, Chris Claremont story. So I wrote it down that it's in near mint condition, but I don't think it's in as high a grade as I thought it was. But for a buck, definitely a good find. Got a copy of New Mutants 86, which is the first cameo of Cable. Again, a book that first cameo of Cable and Strife from 1990. You got Rob Liefeld and McFarlane artwork, obviously. Again, it's just one of those books I'm surprised it doesn't go for more. It's got Cable in the back, but I mean, definitely not the full appearance, I guess, but still I'm surprised. You can find this cheap, and I find it in dollar bins quite a bit. So for any Cable fans out there, that is a very affordable, key book. And I guess it's kind of similar to me for like Uncanny X-Men Annual 14, where you got the quote-unquote cameo of Gambit. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one for any Cable fans. And I always grab these. Again, I like these Liefeld McFarlane covers here. This is the second Cable in 88. Just all early Cable appearances, all in pretty good shape. So I pick them up. 89 and 90. Grabs a copy of Silver Surfer #1. I forget what volume this is. I think I marked it down as volume. I think I marked it down as volume 2 from 87, but I'm not sure if that's right or not. I know there was some, there's quite a few Silver Surfer series out there. There's that black cover one, and there's the epic. I think it's 2 issues. So, anyways, for a buck, I grabbed it. This one I was missing. Never found this. Spawn and Batman crossover, Frank Miller story, Todd McFarlane art. So that is definitely one for my personal collection. In probably very fine shape from 1994. So just one of those books, I've wanted to have, but I don't want to pay, I see it for like $5-10. I don't ever want to spend that. So, all right, we got Spider-Man #35. Maximum Carnage Part 4. I just do not have the full Maximum Carnage story arc, so I found these. I didn't have they really only have these, I think, 36 and 37. All of them newsstand copies, which is surprising for 90s books. When did these come out? 1993. So I think a lot of people have been sitting on this story arc, obviously with the Carnage showing up in the Venom 2, so definitely happy to find those. This one I was shocked to find in there. It is really, really beat up, but I was certainly not going to leave it behind. Spectacular Spider-Man #27. Really rough VG condition, but this is the first Daredevil artwork by Frank Miller from 1979. So yeah, super surprised that was sitting in the dollar bins. I mean, they will just take stuff that is really low grade like this and throw it in there. I don't see any way these guys did not realize what they were putting in the dollar bins there. I'm surprised they would miss that one. So, all right, more books I always grab. Spectacular Spider-Man 131, The Kraven's Last Hunt Part 3, and 132. Both newsstands. Again, awesome Mike Zeck work. These always seem to be the lower priced pair of the 6-issue arc. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of heat with Kraven. Obviously with ASM, I think it's 14, his first appearance. But to me, minor story arcs like this tied to that. This was one of my favorite childhood stories. I love this series. Buy it every time I find these books on the cheap. So definitely worth picking up that 6-issue series. Some more Spidey. We got Web of Spider-Man, number 18, both newsstand copies. I think both probably, one of them's probably fine, very fine. Another one's probably VF range. First cameo of Eddie Brock from 1986. Again, all for $1. So, I mean, none of these are huge books, but still pretty good dollar bin stuff. Web of Spider-Man number 19. This one was, I thought it was in a little bit better shape. It's the first appearance of Humbug, which is, kind of a lame Spidey villain. I always remember him from McFarlane's run. I can't remember which issue, but there was one issue that was my introduction to him. So I grabbed it just because it was his first appearance. All right. Web number 20, the 25th anniversary. Border, I just didn't have this one, so I do snag those anniversary issues when I find them. All right, again, psyched to find these. Back to the Kraven's Last Hunt. We've got Web 31 in a newsstand, which is part 1, and the classic cover from that arc, Web 32, just one of my absolute favorite Mike Zeck covers. Again, newsstand copies. They did not have the ASM books. I think it's $2.95 and $2.95. That's the one thing you do not find in their dollar bins. You are not going to find Amazing Spider-Man in their dollar bins. Very rarely you may find one really beat up, but obviously Amazing Spider-Man's like the #1 title, so they just, none of that's ever in there. So what kind of shape were these in? I know I wrote them down somewhere. Again, probably mid-grade on those, but just awesome stuff. And I've been stockpiling that the Kraven's Last Hunt when I can find them on the cheap. Last Web of Spider-Man book. I see this book on some shops' walls for $20-25, and I'm never willing to pay it for one of these Copper Age keys. So psyched to find this. This was again a villain I did love as a kid. It's Web of Spider-Man number 36 again. Newsstand copy. This is the first appearance of Tombstone from 1988, and it's in pretty good shape, probably very fine near mint. So I read a lot of the Spectacular Spider-Man story arc or comic when I was a kid, and there was a whole story arc that involved Tombstone and Joe Robertson, I believe. I can't remember all the details, but that kicks off in this issue. So that was just one of the classic Spidey villains for me growing up in the late 80s, getting into comics. That was one of the villains that was just a staple. All right, last Spidey book. This I was psyched to find. I wanted to find it. Again, don't want to pay the price I see on it, so very happy to have it for $1, even in pretty rough shape. It's probably mid-grade again. It is Spidey Super Stories from 1974. This is just Spidey's origin retold. This, for me, I just remember the Electric Company as a kid and just being fascinated with the Spider-Man little segment they did. So that's just, again, a childhood thing for me. Always jumps out. So super happy to find that for $1. All right, moving on to some DC stuff. We've got Suicide Squad number 1, which is the first team appearance of Onslaught and first Simon LeGrieve. I don't really know much about this series, but again, in the dollar bins, very fine near mint. I picked it up. Same with this. I don't know much about it, but 23 is the first Barbara Gordon as Oracle, which seems to have gotten quite a bit of attention recently. I think maybe she's supposed to show up in Teen Titans Season 3. I think that's what I read, but this is in really good shape, near mint condition, so happy to find that for $1. I got a copy of 38, which is Origin of the Bronze Tiger, and Oracle's revealed to be Barbara Gordon. So don't know a ton about a lot of these DC books. I did not read DC in the 80s. My best friend at the time who got me into comics, he would read a lot of the DC books, but I kind of only had eyes for the Marvel stuff with McFarlane and Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri's art at the time. So, I watch him reading all the DC stuff, but it was just so much to go through, so I just stuck with Marvel. All right, a couple more here. We've got, this is an awesome cover, Swamp Thing number 49, newsstand copy. This is a great, I think this is Stephen Bissett on the cover. Alan Moore's story, of course. This is the unofficial cameo appearance of Justice League Dark, and and a copy of 50, which is the unofficial first full appearance of Justice League Dark. So happy to find those for $1. Again, books I found before. I think I've probably bought and sold them. I know I got a really sharp copy of number 50 that I got a couple years back that I've been meaning to get slabbed. We've got 2 copies of 67, which I think just has an ad for a preview of Hellblazer number 1. So I grabbed that. I don't think they're going for too much right now, but I know that's a popular character for a lot of people. So, all right, headed in on the last bit of the haul. Back to EC reprints. This was Tales from the Crypt number 1. And this is, I wrote it down. I forget which cover. It's reprint with the cover of Tales from the Crypt number 33, which is a cool Jack Davis cover. So again, just cool reprints I like to pick up when I find. We got a copy of Thor 300, which is the origin of Odin and the Destroyer from 1980. Probably mid-grade. I got 364, which is the first appearance of Puddlegup, which is, I think Thor's turned into a frog in issue 363, and he shows up right at the end in 363, and this is his first full appearance here, I think. All right, this book, I'm sure everyone will remember this when I put it up. I put it on my Instagram page, if any of you follow me there. It's Thor 390, first time Captain America picks up Thor's hammer, which I was surprised this thing still people buying this for like $30-$40. I know this was going over $100 at one time, so just funny to pull it out of a dollar bin now. So it's like, oh, it's there, I might as well grab it, see if I can still get some money out of it, because I don't intend to hold books like that. All right, another nostalgia buy for me. Total Recall number 1 again. DC movie adaptation. This was like a huge hit when I was a kid, mainly because of the woman with 3 boobs. Of course, when you're when you're preteen in middle school, that was like what everyone talked about in this movie. But of course, it's got the Governator in it, so had to pick that up for $1. Awesome nostalgia buy there. All right, this again, one of those, again, another spec book. Vision of the Scarlet Witch, number 1. So this is the first issue of the first miniseries. And who is this? I'm drawing a blank. I forgot the name of this villain. Sam Hain, which is like the physical embodiment of Halloween. Again, some speculation tied to the WandaVision TV series. So when I find them for $1, I have snatched them up. All right, this is the this is the big book of the haul. Could not believe I pulled this out of the dollar bin. I was holding it in my hands and I couldn't not tell them. They were, we were all chatting while I was digging, shooting the breeze, and I pulled this out, and the shop owner and his store manager are talking, and I'm like, guys, all right, guys, sorry, I gotta say something on this one. Like, this is in here. And the shop owner just turned and was like, wow, congratulations. Yeah, we missed that one. He's like, we got too much to deal with. So psyched to find this for $1. This is not a book I will hold on to. This will be sold off at some point. It's What If number 10. This is the Jane Foster becomes Thor. This book obviously got crazy hot after all the Comic-Con announcements last summer, I think it was. So just hysterical to me to find this in the dollar bin. So super happy to grab it. It's not in great shape. It is mid-grade. It's really beat up. It's really rippled on the cover, but still super book to pull out of the dollar bins for sure. All right, the last few dollar books are pretty much a letdown after that, but we got some X-Men stuff. X Factor number 19. Again, it's another one of those 1987 Year of the Reader. I don't find those too often, so I don't know how rare they are, but this is in good shape. First team cover appearance of the Horsemen of Apocalypse. We've got X Factor 23. I know I saw Key Collector and Comic Tom doing a lot of their, true first appearance talk about this book and X Factor 24. So this is the first full appearance of Angel as the Horseman of Death, and the first full team appearance as Horseman. That's what Key Collector has it marked as. Anyways, and then I picked up issue 25, which is the third appearance of Angel as the Horseman of Death. To me, everything I looked at, 24 still seems to get the biggest, or the biggest value out of all of those. So, well, compared to 23, anyways. Okay, last two on the dollar books. X-Men number 5, second appearance of Omega Red. No number 4. I think they started pulling them out of the dollar bin when they saw him. I definitely did find some in there the last couple trips. And finally, a copy of Exterminators number 1, which is another one of those books that I know I saw on one of the top 10 lists at some point for MCU spec. I think it's WizKid may appear in Shang-Chi. Another one of those hysterical 80s books that just shocked to see it showing up on top 10 lists. So that rounds it out for the dollar books. And I did get the final 3 books, all old stuff. These are the books I specifically went in for. So I knew they had a lot of low grade Atlas books, pre-code horror. Some of it was pre-code. So I went in to grab that. They're books they decided they weren't getting slabbed because they were really low grade. So I had a few that I wanted. And only one of them's an Atlas, actually. The other two are Marvel early Silver Age stuff. So, all right, first book, Suspense number 8. Really cool red cover. These are all really, really low grade. I think this was like, oh, did I write it down? I didn't even write it down. Oh, $27, something like that. So I actually grabbed this issue by mistake. I had intended to grab a different book, and when I got home, I realized that I picked out the wrong book out of the out of the run. So I forget which issue it was I wanted to get, which number, but it was the first. I think it was the first appearance of Dracula in comics. So for whatever reason, I was forgetting the number, and I saw the bats on this cover. So this is one I grabbed. I think it's got some glue on the spine. So not a bad book, but it was not the one I intended to grab. All the books were great. They were just, the Golden Age stuff, the early Silver Age, the Golden Age horror stuff. It adds up quick. So anyways, all right. Last two. This one's a cool book, Journey into Mystery number 78. Again, low grade. This was cheap, though, less than $20. So this is the Doctor Strange prototype from 1962, which is a Jack Kirby cover. So glad to find that. It's probably good range. But the big book, the one I was super excited to get, the main reason I went in there, Journey into Mystery number 73. This one's in much better shape. It was much more expensive than the other books. But this is the prototype of Spider-Man from 1961. A Jack Kirby cover. Stan Lee on some of the internal stories, and you've got a mix of Ditko, Kirby, and Don Heck on the art on the interior stories. I think there's 3, maybe 4. I wanted to read this, and I still want to read it, but it's got the Marvel chipping on the edge. So I'm probably not going to take it back out and read it. I'm nervous I'm going to flake off more of the edge if I try and read it. So I was a little disappointed. It was kind of brittle like that. I usually like to read the lower grade copies unless they're chipping away. So anyway, super, super happy to find that. It was less than $100. So for me, that was worth it. I'm a huge Spidey fan. So anything based on Spider-Man, happy to grab. So that is it for the haul, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, again, please hit the like button below and subscribe, and I will see y'all soon.